everybody, and welcome to the world's favorite youth baseball podcast, Clearing the Bases, featuring Coach Jimmy, Phil, and Jerry. I'm David Friedman, and I want to thank you for coming along this journey with us. How are we doing today, Coach?
I'm doing good today, Dave. Beautiful weather today. They say it's going to be warm tomorrow. For this time of year, I'll take it. It's been a little chilly out lately.
Yeah, it was nice today. I was outside doing some lights, doing some Christmas decorations, and it was nice to actually have to take my jacket off halfway through and not be freezing my tail off like I was earlier in the week.
Yeah, any day that I could get where it's we'll call it fairly warm out during this time of year, January, February, I'll take it. It's just take the edge off of the winter a little bit.
It's amazing how a 45-degree day in the sun in December feels warmer than a 60-degree day in September does. I don't understand how that works, but for some reason it does.
I don't know. I think it has something to do with biology, but unless you want to get into that, I'll just take it.
That's not my strong suit. I don't think that's a place we want to go. So, let's talk about our show and what the things that we like to get into. First off, I want to thank all of our listeners. Our show has been growing by leaps and bounds. We've had our standing on player.fm. We've gone from number 2 to number 1. So that is an awesome site. And we have our fans out there to thank for that. Obviously, we just keep growing and growing. And we are now in the top 10% globally of all podcasts downloaded, which is just amazing to me.
Yeah, Dave, I couldn't agree more. Just amazing. I know, when we started this show, what was it, 8-9 months ago? It was the end of March. The idea was to take it slow and, build up as we went along. And it just seems like we're growing a lot quicker than I think both of us thought that we would do.
Yeah, I mean, at one point, I think I would have been happy if we broke like the 24 mark or something like that. And now we're up. We get getting hundreds of downloads per show, and it's fantastic. It's humbling that people are interested in what we have to say, and the guests that we bring on. We've had some fantastic guests, so want to thank all of them for coming aboard too.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not possible without all the people out there that listen to us, and thank you very much for listening and sharing the show. We have a great deal of gratitude for everything that's happened.
Yeah. So on that note, we want to remind everybody, rate, review, comment, subscribe to whatever format you're listening to us on. And, drop us a line. We've got our Twitter is @the CTB show on Twitter. Our email is clearingthebases@gmail.com. And we do want to hear from you. One thing, we ask about every show. We ask you to comment back on us with any feedback for the show, ideas for future shows. If you want to be a guest on the show, go ahead and let us know. Another thing we'd like you to do, either by Twitter or through email, let us know who you are. Just very, very simple. Meaning, I'm a dad of a youth player. I'm a coach in Little League. I'm a high school coach. I'm a player. I'm 16. Player, and whatever it is, we really want to start tailoring the show to who our core audience is and seeing how we can grow that. And again, we don't want it just to be Jimmy and I sitting here talking to each other. We want to make sure that we do stay on topics that you want to hear about. So please let us know, and we'll be happy to get back in touch with you. We're not going to try to sell you anything. This isn't for a sponsorship thing, although we wouldn't mind that. But it's just again, just to make sure that we're really speaking to our audience.
Yeah, I agree, Dave. One of the things that's hard for us to tell is, we're getting many, many listeners, but actually who is listening to the show. I think that's a great idea if we could just get, even on Facebook, we post a lot on Facebook, just Joe Smith parent, Joe Smith Little League coach, whatever, just so we get an idea of who our listeners are. And this way we could tailor our shows to make them more interesting for everyone.
All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of today's show. I want to talk a little bit this week, Jimmy, with you about what kinds of things are you doing now that we are truly in the quote-unquote off season, although there's no such thing as downtime anymore with baseball, but this would have to be considered the off season. We are full-fledged into winter. We're into December here. So I don't know if you want to talk about either from the high school perspective or the travel perspective. What's your goals to accomplish during the off season?
Really, during the off season, we feel that this is the time where you want to take care of a lot of your strength and conditioning. Not that you don't want to do some lifting during the season, but this is more or less as USA Baseball puts it, the off season. This is an opportunity to train the body to become more functional and balanced. So during this time, that's number one. We want to do that. I mean, we have with my travel program, we have our college coaches camps going on right now. And really is all that is we have several college coaches come, they work the boys out, hitting, fielding, no throwing. We don't do any pitching this time of year or any throwing. So we will do that. They're training sessions with college coaches. So the boys can start to get an idea of maybe what they have to work on coming up into the next season to get ready, because a lot of our players are at that age now where they're trying to get recruited. So now they'll have that information to know what they need to do once we get into our preseason.
Yeah, it's interesting, especially you and I both working with the same age kids, JV age primarily, and their bodies are changing so much at this age that, from you think about with your own kids and the kids that you're coaching, and to our audience out there, from 8th grade to 9th grade could be an enormous jump. From 9th grade to 10th grade could just be enormous. And each year here is significantly different. So the things that we were working on 5 months ago, 6 months ago, may need to make adjustments to each individual kid with how their approach at the plate versus and pitching and throwing or fielding, just because the lankiness of the body might have grown, or they're starting to really grow into their, what I would call their man bodies, where they're starting to fill out a lot at this age. I know my JV team had multiple kids that were just seemed like bone thin, and I'm looking forward to see when we come back in over the winter here, how much they've developed physically in that time. And again, I think as coaches, we do have to look at what type of changes should we make to the routine and how we're teaching them to go through their steps.
Yeah. And when you use the word lanky, that brought a vision to my mind. Because yes, at this age group, the kids they're lanky. They could be small. They could be, it's all, like you said, all different body types. And one of the goals that we have is, we want them to, I guess, we want them to develop their strength, their speed, their power, their explosiveness, their mobility, their stability, their flexibility. There's all of this stuff that can be worked on now while we're in the off season. Another big thing that can be worked on is what we talk about a lot, the mental side of the game.
Yeah, generally the least, we'll say, I don't know, popular topic for most coaches to get into, and at least popular for most of the kids to get into, probably. That would be. This is a good time for it, no doubt about it.
But like you said, it's the least talked about aspect of the game, the mental game. It all goes back to everything that we usually talk about, where coaches out there, you need to get the mental aspect of the game is the new hot topic. Okay. So you need to go out there, you need to learn to be able to help your players so that you could teach them the mental side. I know I do a lot of studying. Most of my studying is about the mental performance of athletes. I was just on Twitter just the other day. Matter of fact, I think it was yesterday, where somebody asked me, because the ABCA convention is coming up in Chicago, and someone asked me, what do you look for when you go to the convention? And my immediate answer was, the first things I look for are anything that discusses the mental approach of the game. Those are my classes or presentations that I want to go see.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you from when I was coaching 7-8 years ago, prior to the spring, the last time that I coached, it really wasn't much of our focus at all. And now it seems like there are a lot of good resources out there. I don't know if you have any off the off the top of your head that you want to throw out to the listeners of where they can go to get a good start on this part of the game?
Oh, well, there's all you have to do is do a Google search, the mental aspect of baseball. There are so many guys out there that can help you. And I mean, I can mention a few. There's Alan Jaeger. He's fantastic. Brian Kane is fantastic. We just had my mental performance coach, who's not well known yet, but he will be, Jonathan Reinbold. He just came and gave a whole presentation to our organization, regarding process goals, outcome goals. I'm just trying to, I'm drawing a blank over all of the subject, how to handle adversity, breathing exercises. There's just so many things that he went over with our group. And these other guys, if you do a search for them, you'll find, we had Steve Springer on the show. What is Steve Springer? He's a mental performance coach, happens to be one of the best for the mental approach to hitting. But there you go. You want to learn, listen to Springer. You're going to learn a lot.
Right. And that's something that we do talk about. We'll reference Springer. I encourage everybody to also check out friend of the show, Matt Cole, and his Facebook page, Youth Baseball Coaching, Support Drills and Philosophy. There could be some good things out there. Some of it just little blurbs that people put out there, little sayings, little blurbs that you should be. Those are the types of things I'm a big fan of repeating those to the team. Just the simple stuff like the old Babe Ruth. Every strike is one step closer to my next home run. Just quick little things like this. We're talking about from the mental aspect of the game. It covers a wide range of stuff, from actual classes that you might do with your team, or almost like sessions that you might do with the team, along with just, like I said, making sure we're keeping with a positive attitude, but reinforcing it with real solid words of wisdom.
Right. And if you can get yourself together with a good mental performance coach who will teach you as the coach to be able to do exercises and drills and those type of things with your players to reinforce the way they approach things, how they think. This is a very, very important part of the game. And right now in the off season, great time to do it. I know I do it 12 months a year. I am constantly working on that part of the game with my players. I don't want to say more so than their playability, but just as much.
Right. And the reason why I'm stressing that this is a great time, because it's a great time to get started with it now, where you don't have as many distractions, because you're not worrying about who's going to pitch on Tuesday and my shortstop hurt his ankle. So who am I going to now? I got to move somebody over here and there and whatnot. So it's a good time to start with these types of things, making it a habit so that it does carry through to the rest of the year. Because once you get established with it, then it's easier to continue something than to start doing something.
Sure. I think that we had talked about your focused breathing when you're up at bat. So now this time of year, the off season, I'll be giving a lot of hitting lessons. And we had talked about that sometimes when coaches get hitters in for lessons, it's almost like a rapid fire. They throw one pitch after the next, after the next, after the next. So what I'll do with my players is I will have them do that focused breathing in between every pitch when I'm giving them a lesson. Again, because this way I'm working on the hitting, but I'm also working on the mental approach for hitting at the same time.
Right. It's kind of boils down to the quantity versus quality of not just the at bat. We always think of it in terms of at bat. That's easy, but you should be doing it in terms of each individual pitch. When you're in the cage, if this kid's just getting in there, he's getting his 10 pitches or 12 pitches and then moving on to the next one. But what did you accomplish within that period? Be better to get 7 good swings than 12 mediocre swings.
Sure, absolutely. Yep,
so,
no doubt about it.
All right, so we're doing a lot of work on strength and conditioning, on the mental aspect of the game and the mental approach. What about specifically? So would this be kind of a dead time for actual baseball? Are you doing much in terms of, I know you're doing private lessons, but as far as with your teams, are you doing anything in terms of fundamentals, hitting, fielding, throwing, any of that stuff, or is it more just the general fitness and mental and physical?
Yeah, right now, being that this is the off season, no, we're not doing anything with them in terms of any type of training or any type of practices. This is the time, my feeling is, where players need a rest. They need a break. So I remember, we're going to go back again to when the dinosaurs roamed the earth and I used to play baseball. I remember when the spring came, of, going into my closet and, throwing everything out over my shoulders, hey, Mom, where's my glove? I want to find it. I had that excitement to get out there to play baseball again. It seems that nowadays kids pretty much do, they whatever sport is their number one sport, they seem to do it all year long. They don't have that downtime where they can, they could forget, they could what's the word I'm looking for? They could reboot, and they could just relax, clear their head, and get ready for the new season. This way, when the new season comes around, they have that excitement, they have that energy, they want to come back and play.
Yeah, it's important, and it's something I know I've noticed with speaking to friends of mine who have high school age sons and daughters that are playing a sport, or even if they're playing multiple sports. This time of year, obviously, for anybody that's a senior, it's a big time to start narrowing down your searches for your colleges. And are you going to play sports? Or are you going to play this or that or whatnot? And it seems like the majority, I'm finding a lot of parents whose kids are quite good at their sport, all section teams in high school and things like that, that are not looking to play at the next level. And, I can't help but think there's some burnout. It has to be a big part of that, because who doesn't enjoy, I shouldn't say it that way, but I just know it's some of the best memories that I have of my youth is from being on the teams that I was on. And even in college, it was like our team was basically like being in a frat. That's right. The way we used to look at it. Like because we were always, when you play on a team like that, you're together all the time, and yeah, you're probably going to have a couple of jerks or whatnot. But if you've got 20 some odd kids there, it's, you can find your best friends ever. So it's kind of, I find it sad. I really do that. And I have to feel like it has to be some burnout, because maybe they've been doing this 10 or 11 months out of the year for the last 4 years, and now they see the light at the end of the tunnel, and after that, then they don't have to play anymore. And that's not what the point of this is supposed to be.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, I'm also a big proponent of multiple sports. I did it when I was a kid. I played baseball, and then I played basketball in the winter. There's many, many reasons why I like it. I don't think that, and again, everybody out there, this is my opinion, but I don't think any coach should tell a kid that, I mean, I would say all the way up, I would say pretty much to varsity baseball. And I wouldn't even say that that's the case all the time, but that they have to specialize only in that. I mean, when in that sport, when you play multiple sports, there's a million reasons why it's good for you. Number one, physical injury rates from overuse decrease. Emotional and mental burnout decreases. The player learns how to compete better by playing another sport. There's just so many things. They handle adversity better. They handle failure better. I'm a big proponent that you should. I know that basketball helped me tremendously as a baseball player.
That's surprising coming from a 5'3" white guy, but I could see how, but I see how that can work. Absolutely. I mean, anytime you're using different muscles, and it's just a whole, even like I said, even from the mental aspect, just as important as the physical aspect that we've been talking about the whole show at this point, of getting in and thinking about different things and different ways of how you have to interact with your teammates. And it just, yeah, I think it should only be for a good thing and help with that burnout, especially because with baseball, remember, at its core, it's damaging to the shoulder. Every single time you throw overhand, it's damaging to the throw. It's worse than any other sport, as far as I know. And with that type of repetition, that's why you have these kids, not just the shoulder, but the elbow. I mean, we've got high school kids having Tommy John surgery, which is, insane that it's come to that. And so whatever, it's without getting off my old man soapbox. I definitely agree. It's be great to mix things up, even if they're just playing rec ball for basketball, just so it's something different.
Doesn't matter. It really doesn't. And by the way, just for the record, I'm not 5'3" tall. Okay, I'm a little bit taller than that. But again, all right. So maybe that proves something. So maybe being a multi-sport athlete helped me out.
There you go.
Maybe it did.
There you go.
But going back to what you were saying about the overuse injuries, just again, I don't care what it is. I mean, if you're playing basketball, even if you play soccer, but they don't play soccer in the winter. Whatever there is,
indoor soccer over the winter. I'm sure that they're doing it.
Okay, so you're not using your shoulder to throw. You're not using your elbow. You're strengthening your legs by doing all of the running, which is only going to help you in every aspect, because everything in baseball, your legs have to be strong. So play another sport, enjoy it, have fun. And like you even said, it doesn't have to be at the high school level. You could play rec sports. There's a million different things you can do. Get away from the game, clear your head a little bit, and then get ready to come back.
Yeah. I agree. And then, so for your travel program, right now at this point, you're not having regular practices or meetings with the travel team, right? You're just doing some individual stuff, and then you'll start up again in January, right?
Right. We start up in January, and again, no throwing. When we start up in January, we're doing 1 day a week, 3-hour practice, and it's split up to infield work, outfield work, hitting. We spend a lot of time on hitting, but we use this time because we're indoors. We don't have a lot of space, so we use this time to work on fundamentals. Right. And drill. And like we had talked about before, the mental approach never stops. I work on the mental approach all through our winter training. And then we get ready we actually, with the travel, we shut down during the high school season. So I have a little bit of overlap between my winter workouts with my travel and the startup of my high school, because my high school starts the end of February. We actually start playing games in my high school league. Yeah, we start playing games right about the same time that our winter workouts end. And then everything shuts down until the high school season is over for the travel team.
Right. Well, of course, I mean, the last 2 years, the schedules have gone all screwy because of COVID. So, I was trying to think of when we got started. It was a little later last year, but I think up until middle of February, we weren't even 100% sure if we were having a season last year, I think. So, everything was pushed off a little bit. So this will be my first, hopefully if things continue to stay steady as far as that goes, we should have basically a normal season this year. So I'm definitely looking forward to that getting going then. But all right, so let's turn directions here a little bit, and let's talk about a couple of topics that I've seen online lately. So something you had actually sent to me the other day. I'm sure this stuff is happening all over the country, because once something starts someplace, it spreads out like wildfire, or like in this case, maybe like poison ivy. But so here's a facility. It was advertising for a 6U. They called it a scout team, but you have to consider it's a travel team. So it would be a 6U travel team. They're having tryouts for that. We wanted to talk a little bit about this, pros and cons and whatnot. So here's the basics of what they're advertising. Weekly practices. Now this is going to go. They're having tryouts. They're having tryouts now. Probably a couple tryouts over the winter to pick the team for the spring. So it looks like it's going to run basically in the spring. Weekly practices around their little league schedule. which we'll get back to these things. 6 games, and then jerseys and hats and all that stuff. But basically, they're going to work on. They say they're going to work on fundamental movements and things like that. So I have a lot of thoughts about this. I know you have a lot of thoughts about this, Jimmy. I don't know where you want to start.
What?
So what do you think of the idea of starting? I know we've talked about it before on the show. Anybody who hasn't been with us since the beginning, you go back and listen to the first couple shows. I think Jimmy and I got into this quite a bit in terms of the whole, when do we start playing baseball? And when do we start with when do we start playing baseball? And then B is, when do we start with the competitive side of it, with the travel side? So initial thoughts?
All right. So you want to know where to start. Okay. We're going to start with 2 pretty simple questions, okay, which you are not going to be able to answer. Nobody in the baseball world is going to be able to answer, except maybe the organization that's doing this. They might be able to give me an answer. What the hell is a 6U scout team?
Well, I would tell you, I mean, they're using the term scout as though almost like probably you've got almost as like a training, a training team. Basically, they're scouting for their upper level. They're scouting themselves, their own players for their upper level travel teams. Is basically what I think it is. But
okay, because I mean, some of the best organizations in the country have scout teams at 16, 17
college scout teams.
What I first of all, let's take the word scout out. All right. And I'm just going to let everybody know that I'm probably going to stutter a lot when we go through this, because there's a lot of stuff that I just don't get.
A little fired up.
Yeah. Let alone, let's take the word scout out for a second. So what is a 6U travel team? Forget about the scout. What do you do with a 6U travel team? What is that?
I've seen things posted about it before online. Not just this, but again, across the country, it's one of the things I definitely am not a fan of it. I assume it's coach pitch, whether, each coach pitches to their own team, probably, or maybe they're using a pitching machine to do it. I don't know. It certainly seems to me like a really, really bad idea. I think you're not going to promote and create interest in the sport from the younger kids. I think it's too young for them to be doing this type of thing. There's just too much standing around, especially if you're looking at games. 6 games over 3 or 4 months is certainly not a lot by any means, but I can't even imagine how this is going to come together.
No. So you just said it. So they're going to have 6 spring and summer scrimmages, throughout that time period, whatever it is. So it's really not a lot of games. You're right. Where are you getting the other 6U scout teams to go play against? I mean, so what are you doing now? You're going to ram this down everybody else's throat so everybody else does the same dumb thing that you're doing?
Well, I'm assuming this is in response to maybe other teams. I mean, I haven't seen anything in the area, but like I said, I definitely have seen things posted online. Different pages that I follow, different Twitter accounts that I follow. I know I've seen things posted something like this before, so it is something that's coming up. But I mean, maybe there's one other team in the local. How far are you going to travel with 6U kids? Maybe there's one other team in the area, or maybe they're hoping to get 20 kids, and maybe they're just going to play themselves. And just scrimmage that way, maybe. But it sounds like they're looking to put together a baby travel team.
Yeah. So one of the things that they kind of went on the right direction on, they said that their 6U scout team will be introduced to all the technical skills and movement patterns to excel in baseball as they get older. Now, that I don't have a problem with, okay? Take a bunch of 6-year-old boys. You want to teach them the fundamentals. You want to teach them movement patterns. Great. do that. Okay. You can't put them on a field to have a game. First of all, their attention span is not long enough.
Right. Right. I don't see any way.
Do you want me to keep going?
No, I mean, I think we're going to beat a dead horse. I don't see any way that it winds up being a good positive experience. It seems unlikely. And just right, the first thing that I said that, so they're going to have weekly practices around their little league schedules. So, Jimmy, you've coached a travel team or two in your day where you're pulling kids from all different programs. Okay, obviously you're looking, if it was just one town, it would just be a town team, but this is going to pull from however many towns around in the area. Do you see any potential issues there that you're going to work around their little league schedules? Do you know any two little leagues where the two kids have the same exact schedule, much less when you get to 12 kids, or if you're trying to do two teams, 20 kids, 24 kids?
Yeah, you know as well as I do what's going to happen. Okay, these kids at 6 years old are going to stop playing for their little league, which everybody out there knows you and I can't stand. You should be playing in your little league, okay? Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to sell this idea that, wow, my son is playing on the ABC 6U scout team. My kid is better than he don't play little league. At 6 years old, forget about it. He's a stud.
He's gonna get drafted in 3 years. So got to get him started now. I mean,
it reminds me of this. I guess it's like a quote or a picture that I've seen online many times, where there's two young little boys. They can't be more than 5-6 years old, and the one boy is looking at the other and he says, "Yeah, my dad thinks I'm going pro next year." That's what we're dealing with here.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, and who knows, we might be being too hard on these guys. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt until they prove me wrong, or prove me right. But, and maybe they really are just going to focus on the movements and the developing of just the general athleticism types of things that we've talked about before. But it certainly sounds like they're looking to get kids in early so that they can get them as part of their organization, and they're going to get the hats of the facility. They're going to get the shirts from the facility and get them in that mindset of this is better than just playing rec ball. They're going to get this much better. And it probably will be a better level of coaching, but does it matter at this age is really what it boils down to for me. The logistics of it, I think it's just so full of holes in terms of, like I said, how are you going to get half the kids there if you have one practice a week during the week? How are you going to get all the kids there on the same night? There's almost no way.
Right.
And you're just setting up for failure.
There's a couple of things that I just want to say that's in this ad, because I can't help it. Number one, they say that they're looking for 6U baseball players that have a passion for the game and want to be part of our inaugural 6U scout team. Okay. Does a 6U kid have a passion for anything other than maybe chocolate ice cream?
Video games,
even at 6, I don't.
Yeah,
they're not passionate about it. Okay,
right.
So, who are they aiming that at? They're aiming it at the parents. They're aiming it at the parent that has a passion for the game and wants their kid to be part of an inaugural 6U scout team. Right. So that was number one. And I know you want to get off of this subject because I'll sit here and I'll beat this to death. The other thing that they said in their ad is that they have monthly video analysis of hitting, throwing, and running skills. I would love to see what that looks like. How are you? Go ahead.
No, I could say, that's something I could see. I see some potential benefit there of seeing if the kid, again, kind of taking the game aspect out of this whole thing, right? And just say, if we're just going to work on some developing of athletic skills like running and jumping and and whatnot. I mean, hitting, I don't know, at 6U, yeah, you can go through some very basics and start trying to set up for building good habits going forward on step one of stuff. So I mean, that's something that I could see some benefit there of looking at. This is what he was doing the first day he walked in. Now this is what he's doing here 3 months later, and we can see the progression and whether he is progressing or not progressing. And again, it's all going to depend on, yes, it's really going to depend on the parents' interest level of probably pushing the kid to go. I don't know. I'm a little torn on. Like I said, I could see some benefit here. It's more the idea of that you're not competing with the local team schedule wise. I don't know how that's going to work with kids from 8 different programs. And then B, the whole idea of playing competitive games at that point. I don't know, but I could see the video aspect of it and looking at trying to do some kind of progression. Now the other side of that would be, again, that's all for the parent, because is the kid going to be able to recognize and make changes after seeing themselves on the screen? Probably not.
So again, I'm gonna throw another curveball at you here. How about the idea, if they're so passionate about recruiting these 6U scout team players, why don't you take those people that are going to be involved in that, your trainers, your coaches, whatever they might be, and have them go to the local Little League and train the 6U players? Okay, if you want to charge a few bucks, whatever it is, to help. That's the other thing I want to know about this, and I'm dying to find that out, is how much are they charging for this, right? You want to help, you want to grow the kids, you want to make better players for your organization, sure. Go there with your jerseys on. We're coming here, we're volunteering our time to help your 6U players. Now maybe you'll get some people that when they get older, they'll come to you.
Right. No, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. If you run this more like a clinic, if it was a 5-week clinic or something like that, I'm all in. Now it's great. Now you're going to help to develop that passion for the game from these kids. If you're doing some fun drills and you're keeping their interest and all that stuff. But otherwise, this just seems like learning to run before they can even crawl. And whatever, maybe they'll prove us wrong, but it looks like a bad idea. Bad approach.
Yeah, I just feel sorry for the people that will buy into this and get involved in it. And look, I wish them all the luck in the world. I hope that they create, that they do well, and they train these kids how to move the right way, and the basic fundamentals. I wish them well. Although my experience tells me that most likely it's going to be a train wreck.
Right. Yeah. But all right. So that was fun. So let's see.
Do you think I was a little upset over that?
Yeah, I think you had a little bit of interest in discussing that one, definitely. So I think I don't think you beat around the bush too much on that one. So, all right. So let's talk about this next one. Could go in a few different directions. So this was one I'm stealing from Matt Cole's page, the youth baseball coaching page on Facebook, and somebody posed a question for a scenario with their child. So said his 13-year player. And I don't even know, this could be anywhere in the country, just like us, he has participants from all over the country. So, 13U team, kid didn't make the travel team, but they were offered a spot on the practice squad where they would come to all the practices, but they're not getting a uniform and they're not part of the actual travel team itself. There was to me, a pretty sizable fee for the year of $1,500 for just to be on the practice squad. So the parent was asking the community for thoughts on it, weighing the pros and cons. He said the other thing is he's looking at, he just signed his son up for private lessons 2 or 3 times a week. And it was kind of, should I do one or should I do the other? And what do you guys think? So that caught my eye. I thought it might be a good topic for us to talk about here. So What do you think of that scenario?
That is a situation where I'm going to say I need more information, and I'm going to tell you why. They're offering him to play on the, what is it, the practice squad?
They called it a practice squad.
Okay, and they're charging $1,500. So if that organization has competent coaches that are going to help that kid improve, maybe that's not such a bad place, because what's the alternative? So, okay, so I'm going to take that $1,500 and I'm going to go play on another team where maybe I will get playing time, which is good. That, you know, that's a good reason for it. However, if they're not teaching him anything, well, maybe that $1,500 was well spent on the practice squad, and the kid will get better. Now you can flip that around. If the practice squad is nothing more than, you know, hitting them, you know, a few ground balls here and fly balls and just practicing with an unorganized practice, something that's not structured, something that's not teaching the boys, but yet another travel team maybe has a very good coach for $1,500. He could play there and learn there. And then that's where you go.
Yeah, I agree. It's the type of thing where it really depends what all the entirety of what their options are here. So is there other teams in the area that the kid could make? You know, if he made a practice squad and it's a situation where he was just under the limit, the level of what they are, you know, we don't know how high of a level is this team that they tried out for. Was this an elite type of team? And maybe they should be playing. So going to practices, certainly, yes, it should help bring him up to the next level, except my fear from watching a number of different teams at a number of different facilities in the area that we live in. My fear is that the practice squad players, I don't know how many practice squad players they're going to have, but my fear would be, are these the kids that are basically going to be there to shag fly balls when the quote unquote star players are doing batting practice? Are they going to be, you know, are they really going to be treated like they're part of the team up until the point where they don't go to the games? And it's the type of thing, unfortunately, he'll never know until it's too late, you know, until he's signed up and he's going and doing it, you know, paid and going and everything. Because of course I'm sure the facility is going to tell him absolutely, oh, he's still going to get all this special training and whatnot. I know my experiences have certainly been a mixed bag on something like that, where a lot of coaches, we talk about it all the time, a lot of coaches focus on their better players and don't necessarily look to bring up those weaker players to the next level. Yeah, they go to practice for an hour and a half or 2 hours, but are they getting individual training during that practice time, or is it just team training?
Right.
So how much better is that kid going to get from being in that situation?
Right. But so it goes back to what we've discussed many, many times. The parents have to do their homework. So if the kid tried out for that organization, the parent must have known that they had this quote unquote practice squad. It probably wasn't a secret. So before they tried out, maybe they should have looked into that and saw exactly what does that mean. What does that practice squad mean? Is it separate from the we'll call it the main team, where they practice on their own and they're getting that good instruction? Or in the case that you just mentioned, you know, are they shag and fly balls for the main team? You have to do your homework. You have to know what you're signing up for. And like I said, if you're on that practice team and you're getting great instruction, but you know, I understand you want to get some game time. So how about playing for your local recreational league to get your game time, but you'll do your practice with this practice squad? But again, that's if it's, what's the word I'm looking for? If it's legitimate.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's a great point. Is he part of, or is this whole all one team again during practice time, and then it's just these 8 kids or however, I don't know how many they have for the practice squad. They're just not going to the games, they don't get a uniform? Or is it a separate team where they're going to practice, they're going to drill, they're going to have weekly or multiple times a week practices and all that, and they're just not doing games but that seems unlikely because most areas probably have some kind of an A league and a B league, or there's stronger tournaments that you could go to, or just weaker tournaments that you could go to where you would do that. So that's where I read it as though they were going to be all part of the same team and just practicing and not going to the games. And I also see that as potential major issues as far as the kids that call them the A players, they make the team, this other kids that practice, and kids can be jerks, and they start, it's, hey, go get me a bottle of water, or whatever. It just, I don't know.
Well,
I think more often than not, that would create more issues than it would help the kid.
Well, I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, okay, if that happens, that situation happens that you just explained, where yes, the kids who are on that main team are, belittling the other kids and hazing them or whatever they're doing, and the coach doesn't put a stop to it immediately, get the kid the hell out of there.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing: there's, and I gave a bad example because that could be during the practice or whatnot, but there's also the other 22 hours in the day. They see the kid at school, or they see the kid out, or they're part of part of a texting chain or Instagram or whatever, where it's outside of the purview of the coaches. And now the kid has to be in the position of kind of telling on the other kid that the kid's picking on him or whatever. And that, that just gets it's a real tough, muddy kind of waters there.
Right. But again, it's the culture. Again, the parent has to do the homework,
right?
Find out beforehand what is the culture there. Has there been instances where this kind of stuff has happened? Talk to people, talk to people who were on that practice squad. How was it? Right. Do your homework. You have to.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the biggest thing, because private lessons, you figure and generally speaking, the kid should get more out of private lessons than out of a group lesson overall. But you really, if that's the only thing that you're doing, now you're missing out on the whole team aspect of it and the camaraderie. And, now it's not a game. It's not going to be fun just going and doing one-on-one lessons and doing nothing else. So again, now sort of a couple of people replied with something like that, have him play rec ball and do the private lessons. So he's kind of getting the best of both worlds, or look for a lower level team where he can play, but still get developed. And, now whatever, trying to get the best of both worlds, but it not making a final determination on it, like you said, because we would certainly need more info on it as far as what the other factors are. But it seems like doing something like that, because I doing something like that of just taking a practice squad spot on a travel team does not seem like the best idea.
Right.
I'm thinking of teams that I've seen in the past, not as a coach, but just as a parent, where there was, they took on a kid or two who was weaker. And even if they explained to the parent up front, hey, you know what, he's going to practice with us, we're going to try to develop him, and we'll get him in the games when we can. That almost never works out. It really doesn't, because the parent is always thinking, and the coach is, oh no, we told you he wasn't really going to get to play much. No, you told us you'd get him in when you could. And
right.
If he's, so it's that, I think you're just kicking the can down the road for problems.
Right. And I can't say it enough. It goes back to the coaches. It all depends on the coaches. It depends upon the culture that the coach creates. It depends on the ability of the coach to be able to teach the skills to those practice squad players. Do they know how to run a practice? Do they run their practice efficiently? Are they helping that kid to actually get better? Or are they taking the attitude that, well, these kids really don't have much ability. We'll hit them some ground balls. We'll do this, we'll do that. And then, all right, guys, go home. You had your practice for today. It's two different things.
Absolutely. So, and it's kind of, again, what we were touching on before, earlier in the conversation we were talking about, are they just going to get their 12 pitches in the cage and move on. Hey, they got the same practice as everybody else. Okay, but they don't need the same practice as everybody else. They need specialized practice. And when you're running a travel team, it's very, very difficult to give repeated individual attention to any kid, because just then you got 11 or 12 or 14 other kids that you're not looking at for that period. So it depends on what. Okay, I guess it all comes down to something that you'd like to talk about a lot, which is, what is the plan?
Right.
It's really, that's what it boils down to. Is there a set plan, or is it just, like you said, well, they're just part of the practice, and they're out in right field shagging fly balls for an hour while the good players are getting batting practice or something like that. So yeah, it's tough. We need more information, but I think we're probably both on the same page that it's probably not a great idea, but there's potential there for it to be a good thing.
Absolutely.
But it's got to be handled right.
It could be. And like I said, if they are on that practice squad and it is beneficial, then get him involved in the local little league, let him get his game time there. And you as a parent will be able to see your son, if those practice sessions are benefiting your son by watching him all season playing his rec games. You'll see, he's hitting the ball better. He's got better range at whatever position he's playing. He's fielding the ball better. He's hitting cutoffs. He's doing all of these things better than he did before the season. Well, there's your gauge. And at 13 years old, that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to make players better. So the way I just explained it, that's actually a good thing.
Right.
Whereas if you just said, well, wait a minute, I don't like this idea because he's on a practice squad, and throwing aside the fact that the people that are running that practice squad are qualified people that can help him. And you just focus, I just want to see my son play games. And you go to some other team where he's not getting instruction, but yet he's on the field. Well, that's not such a good thing.
Right. No, I'm with you. I think we're pretty much on the same wavelength there. So, all right.
So whoever wrote that, I hope that we helped a little bit. Maybe they're listening.
Yeah. He got a good set of responses online. I think there was a lot of back and forth. It's tough to do it online when it's not live like this, and you can't kind of just throw an idea out to somebody and whatnot. So there were some good ideas out there, but hopefully, maybe they're one of our listeners. We'll see about, maybe we could throw something out there on the post to direct them to the show. But otherwise, I think I hate to give this type of answer, but unfortunately, it depends. Is what the end result is.
But I mean, you're right. It does depend, but I think that we kind of pretty much presented all sides of it to say, well, here it is. Maybe this is a little bit more information that might be able to help you make that decision.
Right. Or at least here's what you need to look into. Here's the questions that you need to ask, and definitely talk to parents if they've had this type of program set up before. Try to find parents that had their kid on there and see how it went.
Exactly.
And that's going to be the best. That's going to be the best barometer probably for how it works out.
I agree.
Because at least it's not like with a typical travel team. It's tough to do that, because if you talk to the kid, the parent of a kid who's the star, you're going to get a different feedback generally than you talk to the kid who's the 11th kid out of 12 kids on the team. Here, if they're all on the scout team, my notes just went to the wrong line. Sorry, pal. If they're all,
you'll set me off again.
No. If they're all in this practice squad, then you figure they're all, while they're still going to be at different levels, but they're all in the same program, and they should be being treated the same way, because you don't have that fear of, you don't have that worry of, is my kid playing, my kid's not playing shortstop and he should be playing shortstop, whatever, all that stuff that goes on. So, so hopefully there's some benefit there. All right, well, that's going to do it for this show. So again, we want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening to us. Please rate, review, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Let us know what you think. Let us know who you are and why you listen. We've got people literally all over the world. We are on 6 out of 7 continents. One of these days, we'll find somebody on Antarctica. But we have people all over, but we need to know a little bit more about who you are and what it is that you like about the show, or even just what the why you're listening. Is it, like Jimmy said earlier, just let us know, are you a coach, are you a parent, are you a player? And we want to keep doing the shows that matter to you, so it's not just Jimmy and I sitting here talking to each other. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We've had some great guests lately. Again, I'm going to direct everybody. Can't recommend highly enough. Check out Matt Cole's Facebook page, Youth Baseball Coaching, Support Drills and Philosophy. And you also want to go out to Kevin Gallagher's website, SaveTheGameUS.com. SaveTheGameUS.com. Sign up there to become a member of. It's free at this point. Everything's free, but sign up there so you'll get some more information when they do roll out their program in the spring. It's all about keeping the game fun for the kids and keeping this game going strong. The America's pastime. It's on a downswing, and we want to get it up. We want to get the attendance and the participation back on an upswing. So thanks, everybody. Always remember, it's only two things in life we can control. That's our own effort and our attitude. Give me a positive mental attitude, PMA, 100% effort in everything you do. Good things will follow. Final thoughts, Coach?
Yeah, I just want to bring up that a couple of things, just closing points for pretty much the three topics that we discussed today is, number one, take some time off from the game. There is an off season for a reason. Rest your body, rest your mind, and, maybe do a little strength conditioning, a little agility work, and get yourself ready for next season. But take that time off. It's very important. Maybe go play another sport if that's your thing, but I think it's important. The other thing that we discussed about the 6U team is, parents, just be careful. That's all. There's people out there that are trying to do all kinds of crazy things, and you have to make a decision what is best for your kid. So just keep that in mind with things like that. The last thing, when we were just talking about, do your homework. You need to do your homework before you decide where you're going to put your kid and what's the best situation for your kid. And with that, I will leave you with, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you on the next one.